The CEO of TikTok just got fired. But it's not because of politics, not because of China, and not because of some hack. No, this happened because a 17-year-old girl exposed something the app never wanted you to see, that TikTok's algorithm was secretly hiding disabled and non-aesthetic users on purpose. And when the CEO tried to fix it, they fired him. The boardroom was ice cold with tension. Phones silenced, eyes low, the atmosphere so thick you could slice it with a knife. Then the chairman stood. He was an older man with a stiff collar and colder eyes. He looked directly at the man seated at the end of the polished mahogany table, the same man who had helped TikTok weather a dozen political storms, expanded the app to over 1.5 billion users, and spoken before Congress more than once with ease. "Show," the chairman said, his voice flat, emotionless, "you're fired." Shou Zichu blinked. "I'm sorry." "What?" He wasn't used to being blindsided. He was calm, sharp, calculated. But in that moment, he looked like someone who'd just been punched in the stomach. Around him, the board members kept their eyes glued to their papers. No one spoke. No one dared. Buzz. Buzz. Phones started vibrating, even though no one dared pick them up. Notifications pinged. Chu could see the alerts lighting up across their screens. News was already leaking. Emails were firing across PR desks. Tweets were forming. The world would know in minutes. And every outlet would speculate. Was it pressure from the US government? A data breach? Another China-linked controversy? The world would assume it was something political. But they were all wrong. This wasn't about privacy concerns. It wasn't about regulations or national security or even a boardroom betrayal. This was about a teenage girl, a viral video, and an ugly truth that had been hidden deep in the code until someone brave enough and smart enough exposed it to the world. What Shou Zichu didn't know as he walked out of that building for the last time was this. He wasn't fired because he did something wrong. He was fired because he tried to do something right. 2 weeks before Chu's termination, a 17-year-old girl named Lena Martin posted a video that would rip open one of the biggest algorithmic scandals in tech history. Lena wasn't famous. She didn't have millions of followers. She was just a high school senior from Detroit, a girl who loved coding, AI ethics, and making silly dance videos with her younger brother, Caleb. Caleb was 15. He used a wheelchair and had a speech delay from a birth injury. But he was hilarious, clever, and his comedic skits, usually with Lena, were heartwarming and creative. And yet, his videos never took off. They'd get 100 views, then vanish. Comments from new users disappeared. Duets disabled. Even hashtags mysteriously removed. Lena noticed. At first, she thought it was a bug. Then she got suspicious. She started experimenting, creating dummy accounts, tracking engagement patterns, and even using screen recordings and open-source code analysis tools. What she found horrified her. Caleb's content, and others like his, were being deprioritized by TikTok's algorithm. But not just his. Lena discovered that people with facial scars, visible disabilities, older users, and even those considered unconventionally attractive were being buried. She titled her expose, "TikTok is lying to you, and I can prove it." The video was calm, rational, no yelling, just facts. She presented her findings step by step. How the AI favored symmetrical faces, able-bodied movement, high-contrast lighting, and youthful features. How the system pushed content with those attributes to the top and quietly suppressed everything else. Within 48 hours, the video hit 10 million views. People were shocked, outraged. Comment sections exploded with personal stories, disabled creators who'd struggled to grow, elderly users who thought they were just bad at TikTok, people with acne, birthmarks, or prosthetics saying they always felt invisible. And suddenly, Lena Martin, just a girl in a hoodie with a laptop, had taken on one of the biggest tech giants in the world. At TikTok's headquarters in Singapore and Los Angeles, panic spread like wildfire. Slack channels flooded with pings. Executives held emergency Zoom calls at midnight. The PR team launched into full-blown crisis mode, preparing a statement that sounded like it said something, but really said nothing at all. TikTok is committed to inclusion and diversity. We are reviewing recent concerns and taking them seriously. But the problem wasn't going away. Shou Zichu, always composed and strategic, took matters into his own hands. Within 36 hours of Lena Martin's viral post, he recorded a video response from his office. He looked straight into the camera and said, "TikTok is an inclusive platform. We celebrate diversity in all its forms. If there are algorithmic issues, they are unintentional and being addressed as we speak. But his voice, usually firm, was tight. Because even as he spoke those words, he knew the truth was more complicated. Lena wasn't done. She uploaded part 2, and this time, she brought receipts. She had somehow obtained internal emails. Real ones. Screenshots showing conversations from TikTok's trust and safety team, where staffers discuss suppressing content from users with facial abnormalities, visible disorders, and even disproportionate body types. The reason? One line stood out. Viewer discomfort is a high abandonment trigger. We should avoid promoting those creators to For You. It was intentional. Documented. Cold. The public snapped. Twitter was ablaze. Disability advocates launched hashtags like #IamNotDiscomfort and #VisibleNotViral. TikTok influencers with millions of followers started boycotting, calling on their fans to leave the app until accountability was shown. And in Washington, D.C., lawmakers took notice. Senators called for hearings. Journalists pulled old articles and leaked documents that had once been brushed aside. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, TikTok's board of directors didn't talk about ethics or morality. They talked about numbers. Ad sponsors were pulling out. Brands didn't want to be associated with digital discrimination. Daily active users dropped for the first time in years. Investment groups threatened to divest. The company's market value is bleeding by the hour. They weren't worried about Lena. They were worried about their bottom line. The board didn't care whether the algorithm was biased. They cared that it was public now. And they needed someone to blame. Someone high enough to satisfy outrage, but far enough from the real decision-makers to protect the company's core. That someone was Shouzi Chu. Publicly, the narrative was clear. The CEO had to go. But inside TikTok, the truth was far more twisted and damning. Shouzi Chu hadn't been blindsided by Lena Martin's revelations. Not entirely, because he had seen this problem over a year ago. Buried in the back end of the platform's AI moderation system was a glaring truth. The algorithm had evolved to favor certain traits: symmetrical faces, perfect lighting, flawless skin, thin bodies, abled movement. The more visually ideal a user was, the more likely they were to trend. It wasn't just bias, it was optimization. The AI had learned from patterns. What got the most engagement? What kept users scrolling? And somewhere along the line, humanity was stripped out of the code. Chu, to his credit, didn't ignore it. In a leaked internal email dated 10 months before Lena's expose, he had flagged this issue to TikTok's AI ethics division. We are systematically excluding creators who don't meet conventional visual norms. This is not sustainable. This is not ethical. He asked for a full audit, a retraining of the algorithm, even a human review team to spot and correct discriminatory patterns. The response? A spreadsheet from the engagement team. It showed a projected 13% drop in user retention if the algorithm was changed. That meant billions in lost ad revenue. The board wasn't interested in ethics. They wanted growth charts. And when Chu tried again, 6 months later, with a detailed plan called Project Inclusion that would elevate disabled, elderly, and marginalized creators, it was shot down immediately. Internal notes read, "Risk of engagement dropped too high. Recommend shelving." Chu didn't push back publicly, but privately, he began documenting everything. Every rejection, every ignored warning, every meeting where ethics were dismissed in favor of revenue. So when Lena's videos went viral, and the emails she exposed matched exactly with what Chu had flagged months earlier, the board panicked. Not because of what Lena uncovered, but because now the CEO looked like he knew. Which he did. And worse, he had tried to fix it. That made him unpredictable, disloyal, dangerous. They couldn't control the narrative if the CEO was on record fighting against the very system the board protected. So the decision was made: cut him loose. Quietly. Immediately. Let the world think he was the villain. Because the truth? He had been the only one trying to do the right thing. The day after Shouzi Chu was fired, TikTok posted a polished press release filled with hollow phrases. "We remain committed to diversity. We are reevaluating our algorithmic practices. We thank Mr. Chu for his leadership." But behind the corporate language was one clear goal: stop the bleeding. Meanwhile, Lena Martin, still just 17, found herself in the middle of a digital firestorm. News crews parked outside her school. Her face was on cable news. She was invited to speak before Congress. Her voice trembled as she sat before lawmakers, dressed in a navy blazer borrowed from her mother. "My brother Caleb isn't broken," she said into the mic. "He's not less valuable. And no algorithm should decide he doesn't deserve to be seen." The room went quiet. Lena didn't just call out a tech company. She held a mirror up to the world and showed us the reflection we didn't want to see, a system where beauty was coded, indifference was filtered out. Her testimony made headlines. Disability rights organizations rallied behind her. Ethics professors cited her findings. And soon, she launched a nonprofit called Visible Voices, an organization that teaches teens to audit AI, fights algorithmic discrimination, and supports creators from underrepresented backgrounds. But while Lena was being praised, Shochu disappeared. No interviews, no statements, no social media, just silence. Some said he'd moved to Europe. Others said he was consulting in secret for major AI companies. But the most intriguing rumor? That he was building something new. A whisper began circulating in tech forums and ethical AI circles. Chu was creating a new platform, one where creators weren't judged by how they looked, but by what they had to say. A platform where authenticity, vulnerability, and creativity would be the new algorithm. No filters, no suppression, no shadow bans, only truth. He wasn't answering to a board this time. No venture capitalists, no quarterly targets, just a quiet promise that the internet could be better, kinder, fairer. And maybe that's the strangest twist of all. They fired him for trying to fix the problem. And in doing so, they may have unleashed the one person who actually could.